With about 7 weeks to go, it's time we take a look at another weekly polling recap. I'm sure some new polls will drop as soon as I finish the video, but we've got a lot to get through, so let's dive right in. We're going to start on Real Clear Politics, so we've got the average of the 7 major battleground states. And across all 7, it's Kamala Harris with a 0.2% advantage. It's pretty much a toss-up in all 7, but she is leading in Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Trump is ahead in Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. The best for Harris is Wisconsin at 1.2, and the best for Trump is Arizona at 1.3. There's not going to be a lot to say here. It's a neck-and-neck battle in the polling. Given the volatility in this election, personally, I'm going to wait until we get well into October until I start to maybe have some confidence in the polling. And the timeline also shows it's pretty much neck-and-neck, and that's where it's been for the past month or so. Now let's look at some of the individual polls. We'll start here with the most recent on Sunday, and they've got national polling, and this should be post-debate. ABC News Ipsos has Harris up 4, 51 to 47. Atlas Intel has Trump up 3 points, 51 to 48. And I've seen this poll going around how Atlas was very accurate back in 2020. As always, maybe they're right again, maybe they're wrong, maybe things change. We've got Trafalgar. Some people love him, some people hate him. They polled Arizona. They've got Trump up 1, 47 to 46. Then we've got an Iowa poll, and Trump is only up 4 points, 47 to 43 in a multi-candidate race. Des Moines Register and their polling firm Seltzer is usually pretty accurate. However, that's usually at the end of the election, not necessarily in September. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Next, in New Mexico, it does have Harris up 10 points, 49 to 39. That does seem potentially more believable. Then Trafalgar also took a look at the Arizona Senate race, and they've got Ruben Gallego up 4 points, 47 to 43. And we've consistently seen Lake trailing in that race. Let's go back to Saturday. We've got a poll out here from Yahoo News, and they've got Kamala Harris up 4 nationally, 50 to 46. Then Trafalgar did North Carolina. They've got Trump up 2, 48 to 46. In Wisconsin, from Insider Advantage, Harris is up 2, 49 to 47. Now I'm going to skip some of these so I can get as much in as I can. Let's go back to Friday. We've got a Minnesota poll, and MinnPost has Harris up 5 points, 49 to 44. That's going to be an interesting state to see how much Tim Walz could boost Kamala Harris. Then another North Carolina poll has Trump up 3, 49 to 46. We've got another key Rust Belt state, Michigan, and that's tied at 48 apiece. Then in New Hampshire, from St. Anselm College, Harris up 8 points, 51 to 43. If you're looking for Arkansas, they've got it right here. Trump up 15, 55 to 40. That was a state Trump won by more than 25 points last time. Again, from TIPP, with third parties in North Carolina, Trump maintains a 3-point advantage. In Michigan, with third parties, Harris gets a 1-point lead, 47 to 46. In that same state, in the U.S. Senate race, Slotkin is up 3 points, 48 to Mike Rogers, 45. Then we've got a bunch of national polls. We've got Data for Progress here, and then on Thursday, we've got several other pollsters. Generally, they even out to Harris having about a 2 to 3 point advantage, and I'd say that's probably right on the border of what she would need to win the national popular vote by if she's going to be able to win in the Electoral College, so it's very close. Back on Thursday, Insider Advantage has Trump up 1 in Michigan, 49 to 48. Let's go back to Wednesday. In Wisconsin, Marquette has Harris up 4, 52 to 48. In the Senate race, Baldwin is up 5, 52 to Eric Hovdes, 47. Then we've got an update out of Virginia. From Virginia Commonwealth University, Harris is up double digits, 10 points, 46 to Trump's 36. So that's a good mix of states, but nothing out of Pennsylvania or Nevada. Even some lower tier states like Florida and Texas, nothing in the last few days. Now, one other thing I mentioned frequently on this channel is things can always change. And at the top, there's that Des Moines Register poll that has Harris up 4 points. If we go back to the mid-September poll 4 years ago, they had Biden and Trump tied at 47. So I think that's a pretty simple example on why you should look at the polling but not put a ton of weight on it, even in mid to late September. Sometimes things can even change in late October, but they also might not change at all, and Harris makes a big gain in Iowa. Now let's move on to 538 and take a look at some more of the Senate races. So some of these we already went over, but here's the Senate race in Missouri, and this is sponsored by Lucas Kunce, the Democrat in that race. But with 645 likely voters, they've got Josh Hawley up 4 points, 50 to 46. So Kunce there is showing himself potentially competitive. Then from Signal in Michigan, Alyssa Slotkin is up just 1 point, 44 to 43. Here's a Texas poll. Ted Cruz is up 4 points, 47 to Colin Allred's 43. That was with 800 likely voters. Then we've got that Senate race in Wisconsin again from Marquette, and they've got registered and likely voters both in the head-to-head matchup as well as with third parties. Either way, Baldwin has a 4 to 6 point advantage. Then below, there's more Wisconsin Senate polls, and they also have Baldwin up 6 and 7 points. So then Redfield and Wilton also pulled some other Senate races. And in Pennsylvania, they've got Bob Casey up 8, 44 to David McCormick's 36. Coefficient also did that same race, and it's similar. Casey is up 9. Then Redfield also did New Mexico Senate, and Martin Heinrich has a 10-point advantage. In Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar is only up 6 points over Royce White, 42 to 36. That race I would not at all expect to be that close. In Nevada, they've got Jackie Rosen up 8 over Sam Brown, 47 to 39. In Michigan, Slotkin is up 5, 44 to 39. And then before that, in Florida, Rick Scott is only up 3 points, 44 to 41. And then before that, some of these get a little bit older. Tim Kaine is up double digits in that Virginia Senate race. Now let's move on to a few governor's polls. And we finally got one out of Indiana from Lake Research Partners with 600 likely voters. This was taken a couple of weeks ago, late August to early September. And it is sponsored by the Democrats, but Mike Braun, the Republican, is up just 2 points, 41 to Jennifer McCormick's 39. The Libertarian candidate in that race is pulling in 9%. So hopefully we get a few more polls for that race. Then in Washington, with 403 registered voters from Elway Research, Bob Ferguson is up 11 points over Dave Reichert, 50 to 39. And then we've got a ton of polls for North Carolina governor. It's not looking good here for Mark Robinson. In all three of these, he's trailing either 9, 12, or 14 points. Now, I would not expect him to lose by 14 points, but he's going to need to have a very strong late surge if he's going to potentially be able to win that race. There's even more here in that race. And Stein is up double digits from all three pollsters. And finally, we've got Utah governor. Not a surprise here, Spencer Cox with a massive lead, 21 points over Brian King, 48 to 27. And last, let's do the U.S. House. And this is where you might get a lot more variation, smaller sample sizes, and polling that has overtly partisan sponsors. So from RMG Research, they took a look at some potential close races. And in Iowa's 3rd, Zach Nunn, the incumbent Republican, is trailing by 3 points over Lanon Bakam, 42 to 39. That was a close race in 2022. In New York's 19th, it's a rematch for Mark Molinaro. He trails Josh Riley by 3 points, again 42 to 39. In California's 41st, a lot of rematches here, but Ken Calvert is trailing Will Rollins by 6 points, 41 to 35. In Virginia's 2nd, decent sample size here, 792. Jen Kiggins is up by 5 points, 45 to 40. In Pennsylvania's 1st, this is another rematch, but it's sponsored by Ashley Ehas, the Democrat in this race. But this shows Brian Fitzpatrick up 5, 50 to 45. In New York's 4th, it's another rematch. Anthony D'Esposito, who won by about 3.5, trails this time by 3 points, 50 to 47, but that is a poll with a Democratic sponsor. In California's 22nd, Rudy Salas is up 2 points over incumbent Republican David Valadao. Again, in Virginia's 2nd, Jen Kiggins is up 1 point. In Arizona's 1st, endangered Republican Dave Schweiker trails Amish Shah by 1 point, 48 to 47. In Nebraska's 2nd, it's another Bacon-Vargas showdown, and this time Vargas is up by 4 points, 49 to 45. In New York's 22nd, Brandon Williams is trailing John Mannion by 7, 50 to 43. I would say Williams is one of the more endangered Republicans, partly because that map was redrawn. Again in Pennsylvania's 1st, sponsored by Brian Fitzpatrick, he is leading by 15 points, 51 to 36. So that's a 10-point difference from the poll we saw above. Now, one thing I'm going to point out here is that poll was taken May 14th through the 20th, so it is completely outdated. I'm not sure why it was released on September 11th, but it did use 1,200 likely voters. But you can see underneath that on September 10th, also sponsored by the Fitzpatrick campaign with only 400 registered voters, it also shows Fitzpatrick with a similar advantage of 14 points. So again, when you start getting into some of these House races, you can run into some weird data. And even above, some of these were taken in July and August. I think anything more than a couple of weeks old is going to start to wear off on how useful it is. So I don't want to get too far into it, but that's a look at where some of the races are at with about 7 weeks to go. There's some good stuff there probably for each side, but definitely take a lot of these with a grain of salt, and I'm going to recommend waiting until we get into October. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about any of the polls from this past week? Do you like the ones that show your candidate ahead? Do you dislike the ones that show them down? Did you find anything notable in the crosstabs? And which of these pollsters do you like the best and the least? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to help support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.